Welcome back. So we're in between the first and second period in the Jets Blackhawks, and there was some other stuff that took place today, which I need to talk about tonight. And because tomorrow is going to be pretty much wall to wall hockey. So Sergachev was suspended 2 games for a head hit, which the referee saw, and it was a 2-minute penalty. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I find that the way that penalties are decided in the NHL odd. In that, and I said this morning too. I even said it on Twitter. To me, a guy bleeding doesn't necessarily mean he's more injured than a guy who's not. And in this case, it's a dangerous head hit. It's a 2-game suspension for Sergachev. So they've called up Clayson to fill out the roster while Sergachev's out. But it's dangerous. And I think there should be, whether or not it's dangerous. I think it's odd because, again, you'll see a guy at the bench like, oh, the inside of my mouth, look, there's blood inside my lip. And it's like, I bite my lip all the time. And, I don't get all like, oh, I'm going to put myself in there for 5 minutes. I got to call that on me. It's just odd. It's always been odd. And since they changed, and I remember when the rule changed, so it was a 4-minute if there was blood. That's the only injury. I swear, a guy could have a tooth knocked out, but if it's clean and he's not bleeding, they go, well, pick your tooth up. You should be fine. It is odd. So yeah, I have advocated for many years that if it is a hit to the head, if the referees agree that was a hit to the head, it should at least be more than a 2-minute penalty, because it's weird. It's weird that the guy plays the rest of the game, and now he's suspended for 2 games. That's something referees saw and called at the time. And yet if there's a charge that becomes a suspension, usually the guy will get kicked out of the game for that. If it's a roughing... See, if there's anything that ends up being a suspension or a fine later, normally that'll be more than a 2-minute call. Or they don't call it at all. All right, so... Carey Price is set to return to the roster of the Montreal Canadiens, at least to return to them from the Players Assistance Program on Monday. And then it's a matter of getting him ready to go. I don't think it's going to take that long. It's Carey Price. I don't think it's going to take him that long to get ready and start playing some games. And I would think he may feel more motivated considering the absolutely abysmal start to the season that has been had by the Montreal Canadiens. I think he's going to feel like, all right, I need to get in there and help. And it could. Tomorrow, Devon Taves makes his debut. At least it's highly likely he makes his debut. Colorado put him on the active roster. That will make a difference on that blue line, which has, at times this season, looked not fantastic. It's been a rougher start for Colorado than many would have expected. And getting Taves back in the lineup on top of all the other players who spent time on the injured list, getting everybody together and having that chemistry created should help Colorado tremendously. I'd look for a turnaround from them. Former Colorado Avalanche member, current St. Louis Blues member, Ryan O'Reilly, he is likely back on Sunday. That's all the indication right now, is that he's likely back on Sunday. Braden Shen is getting further evaluated for an upper body injury he suffered last night. And Krug has been added to the protocol list. So, yeah, and the protocol list, again, there's people going in, coming out, and it's a lot of players going into and coming out of the protocol list. And again, we don't know why they're on that list necessarily. So, yeah, Krug's on the protocol list, and O'Reilly being back on Sunday would be huge. Well, St. Louis wins that game last night, and the record's still excellent. They want O'Reilly back. Jack Eichel, the surgery has been set for next Friday. He will have that surgery. I believe they said it was at a hospital in Denver. He's going through a specialist, obviously. And this is something that had to be agreed to by Vegas before they got him. This is one of the reasons why Vegas and Calgary were the last 2 teams standing. Both organizations had said that they were willing to allow him to get the surgery that he wanted. And so for Eichel, that surgery is next Friday. And then it's a matter of how long it takes for him to come back and be an active person on that roster, because Vegas, while they're ridiculously over the cap right now if everybody was healthy, they're not. And that's the main storyline right now with Vegas, is they're not a healthy team. And, of course, there's the debate about how they're going to get under the cap and who's going to be pushed aside in order to make that happen. There are a few candidates for that. We'll see what happens when that day comes. And for Eichel, it may not be until March. It could be as late as March before we see him in a Vegas jersey. Matthew Tkachuk has been fined $5,000 for a high stick last night on John Klingberg. And again, these are the fines that people complain about, but it's the maximum allowable under the CBA. And for Tkachuk, it's one of those, warning things where the league's saying, hey, we saw this, we don't want to see this again. And for Klingberg, I'm pretty sure he stayed in the game. So, yeah, for Calgary, they want Tkachuk to keep his nose clean. He's done a pretty good job. There were some serious issues with his behavior. I remember, was it 3 years ago now? It feels like it's been a long time. And yet the passage of time over the last year and a half, 2 years, it's different. So for Tkachuk, he has done a better job of keeping his nose clean after some incidents that took place earlier on in his career. So we'll see if this is just a one-off for him and, how things go for him. It is, of course, Kevin Lowe night tonight for the Oilers. They will all be wearing a jersey that has Lowe and the number 4 on the back. Big night for Kevin Lowe and discussions of his place in the Hall of Fame. I don't have any issue with him being in the Hall of Fame, and I think it does open the door for other defensively minded defensemen to get into the Hall, and I think it is more difficult for a defensively minded defenseman. And by 80 standards, Kevin Lowe was absolutely defensively minded because he played some defense. There were some defensemen that just plain flat out didn't, and he was usually paired with one in Paul Coffey. So, Kevin Lowe, his night is tonight, and again, hopefully we see some more defensive defensemen added. They really do need an award for defensive defensemen in the NHL. And I know that there are others that have called for it as well. And most agree, and I mean, I said this as well, that it should be the Rod Langway Award. But, we'll see. We'll see if the NHL ever actually does it. I think it would be nice to see. It would be nice to see an award that doesn't just go to a defenseman that might have a ton of points that year, might have had a really good two-way year, recognizing those defensemen that do a really good job with things like shot blocks, with cutting down on those dangerous opportunities against. Just to give them an award, I think, would be perfectly fine. Much like the Selke Award you have for forwards. It's right there. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through. You just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.